Hi everyone, it's Tammy. I am coming to you today with a real intention in mind, and that is to talk a lot, actually only about autism. You'll hear other voices in the background, so I'm hoping I'm speaking loud enough. This is just a topic that is incredibly important to me. Um, so to begin with, I guess it came up in a conversation today that I was involved with, and it just really lit a fire under me to begin speaking out on behalf of these children, on behalf of these adults that are all living with the label of autism. Now, there's a lot of professionals that I know and have spoken to, and they're very big proponents on the need for labels. And so I use that term very loosely because labels absolutely do provide people services and insurance coverage, whereas if you didn't have the diagnoses, you wouldn't receive everything, the additional community support structures. But that said, I really believe that's where the labels need to end. Um, there is something to be said for treating everyone equally, regardless of how they demonstrate, how they carry themselves. Autism is not really a disability, even though we want to look at it as such. There are a series of behaviors that are evident, and a lot of them, they do vary because, as with any health or mental concern, there's a spectrum. Even in our own, when we consider ourselves in good health, there is a spectrum of what is considered good health. So recognizing the difference in behaviors and addressing the individual. Now, I know we have systems in this country, probably around the world, that work within the framework of what we know to autism to be, and there are certain things that we're trying to get these people to fit into. And I'm here to say that I believe at this time it's really necessary to start paying attention to the messages that they have for us. There's a lot of underlying messages. I could probably go on for days talking about this. I've mentioned in other talks that the human body has adapted over the centuries due to environment and technology. I really believe autism is a factor in that. I'm really tired of listening to parents blame themselves for something they either did or didn't do while the child was in utero, so that means it's primarily the mothers that are getting on themselves. This particular person today is a mother, and she was doing the same thing. Sadly, her story isn't much different from other parents that I've worked with, which is these professionals are bullying these children into being something that they struggle to fit into. Now, I say that these are the words the parents are using. This is not my experience. But I've had parents tell me that some therapists and teachers are telling them that this is as good as it's going to get. When you have a child banging their head against the wall, and requiring helmets to tell a parent that it's not going to get any better is damaging on both sides. It's hurtful to the child, it's hurtful to the parent, and it really diminishes the therapist's ability to even work with that child and help get that child beyond where they currently are. As professionals and clinicians, it's our job to help empower and expand people's mindset. So when I hear of professionals saying this about the people they work with, I can't help but wonder how much that clinician is actually limiting these people. Again, I don't believe it's malicious by any stretch of the imagination. I really believe it's just we're operating within a context with which we were trained, culturally as well as professionally. And I want to be a catalyst to change this and actually help. I want to help the children, I want to help the parents, I want to help the professionals that are working with these people to actually begin to see them as something much more. Taking the fact that we have over 70 million people on this planet living with autism, and recognizing that as a symptom of something that's going on globally, technology, environmentally, as well as psychologically. Because if you think about it, when you have an autistic child who is stimming or scripting or acting out, the first thing we do is attempt to get them to fit into our container, our box, instead of meeting them where they are and trying to help them and finding out really what it is. I've watched videos that have been done by autistic people that often say that the stimming and the scripting is more about, well, it's very much self-soothing, but it's also about getting attention, especially in the scripting. They're just trying to get people to hone in and listen. Now, their verbal skills are challenged, as we know, as well. And so being able to articulate exactly what they need is something that they don't do. They do it differently. They express themselves, whereas, again, culturally, especially in the United States, I can't speak for cultures in other parts of the world, our ability to express ourselves and have it be accepted is questionable at best. We've learned to contain ourselves in order to keep the peace. We've learned to contain ourselves in order to remain invisible, to kind of normalize and equalize. I'm not sure I'm coming up with the right word, but we choose not to differentiate ourselves for a number of reasons that I don't really want to speculate on. But what I see as autism is, again, not a disability. It's an ability. It's an ability to express. It's living without abandon. These children don't have the filters that we have put into place culturally, and allowing them and guiding them and teaching them to make safe choices and beginning to discern is really where it's at. And they're absolutely capable of doing this. And this is where I come in as far as teaching people how to incorporate essential oil therapy as opposed to more rather than the pharmacotherapy. The behavioral therapy, it's not like it's a be-all, end-all. So my recommendations here aren't it. Just want to emphasize that they're not the answer. They are a method of incorporating the behavioral therapies that they're getting and helping them to continue to be themselves. Yes, it's funny. If you think about it, the autistic, those living with autism, I prefer to say it that way. So those living with autism actually bring something to the table for the rest of us to learn. Those of us who are not living on the spectrum bring something to the table for those living with autism to learn. So where do these two trains meet, right? We can teach them how to incorporate awareness, allow the spontaneity and the lack of inhibition to be more of conducive to what they're trying to achieve in their life. So like I said, through the use of essential oils, you can actually help to regulate the neurochemistry. You can do that holistically because you are working with the entire system. The essential oils contain, could be up to almost 100 different, ingredients that all have an altering effect on the body. Those that aren't used are extinguished from the body. They're eliminated. So it's not like they're not um, fat soluble. They're just merely metabolites, secondary metabolites that are taken in, utilized, and then eliminated. They do not build up in the tissues, even though they do have an effect. They're not nutrients. It's just like with any chemical, okay? I think I've mentioned before, I know I shared this just recently, I think it was on Twitter, that the body is perfectly capable of detoxing itself. So as with any chemical that we consume on a daily basis, which we all are, whatever is needed by the body is used. Whatever the body cannot eliminate on its own, it works to, that's what causes the imbalances. So, yet these secondary metabolites in these plants are not considered, they don't create toxic reactions in the body. They actually just are either used or they're gone because the body knows exactly what to do with them. This is, again, the brilliance to what we have that's carrying us around. That said, with autism, you can affect them on a systemic level. You can help soothe them. You can help their focus, because we're talking about ADHD. We're talking about anxiety. Sometimes they get diagnosed with depression, although it's not so much depression as it is anxiety. A lot of them have histaminic reactions, which triggers asthma, other allergic reactions. A lot of them are compromised with the immune system, although it's interesting because autism has seemed to be equal to an autoimmune issue. So no matter if you're looking at it as health issues, when I see somebody who is demonstrating allergies, that's more of an autoimmune response as opposed to a compromised immune. So you want to be able to modulate the immune system. So these are a number of factors that are considered with autism. Nonetheless, you can actually fully support the body and help regulate the neurochemistry, help them actually hear you. And what they need from you is your guidance on how to be themselves, not to be something that they're not and to fit into a box. This is the problem I see with labels. So, and when I heard that today, when I heard this woman talk to me about the teachers in a local school and a local counselor bullying him because of his behaviors, I thought, if only we could help people understand how we can actually regulate. I don't necessarily need to try and reinvent the wheel and convince professionals that they need to be different. They've been trained to do something, and they are very effective when the child is responsive. Now, that said, I do completely understand when the child is not responsive, because we tend to go into that automatic mode of, nope, you need to listen to me, I'm the expert here. And what I know is that even though we're talking about children a lot of the times, these people are in touch with their body. They are highly aware, and it's our job to cultivate that in a very safe environment while implementing the tools that we've been given to help them do so. So it becomes a synchronicity, a synergy, if you will, between professional and the person we're supporting. So I just really want to, I don't know what else to say other than to start a conversation about how we can alter our strategies and implement our strategies at the same time while embracing the autistic and while helping them fully express who they are while they operate within the context of the world as it is. It's a blending of both worlds. It's a bridging of the gap. It's not two different, I don't feel like it needs to be two different worlds colliding. I think it can be two different worlds coming together and making a difference in this world globally. There's so many people trying to make global differences, and um, these people are incredibly intelligent, they're incredibly gifted, and it's our role to bring that out, to draw them out, and like I said, in a very safe environment. Please comment below, and if you have any questions, I want to hear from you. And I will say this much about the oils when it comes to autism. It varies. It varies significantly between people. It really depends on the genetics of the family, what these people are manifesting, um, whether it be stimming or scripting. Two very different behaviors. Is there self-harm involved? Like I said, I've got children that I work with around the world and they're all doing different things. And so none of them has the same cocktail, if you will. But we have taken nonverbal to verbal. We've taken the insomniac to sleeping. We've taken we've quieted the stimming. We've quieted the scripting, and in the meantime, these children are blossoming. I know there's a number of organizations around the country that are really about fulfilling and helping those with autism bloom. In fact, there's one in Florida called Blooming with Autism. So my hat's off to everyone that is reaching out in this arena and wanting to make a difference in these children's lives, including the teachers and the other professionals. I mean, everybody. There's a lot of us that are working in this field, and regardless of the amount of research that's being conducted, what I do know is we're talking about human beings with the right to express. And it's not our job to tell them not to do it. It's our job to foster the safety that they can be fully themselves. So again, if you have any questions regarding the use of essential oils, it works side by side. If they are on a pharmaceutical, it improves the use of the pharmaceutical. A lot of these children are being placed on pharmaceuticals, psychoactive medications that they don't need to be on for the rest of their lives. So being able to help implement the genetic reactions to these pharmaceuticals is imperative to give them a fuller, more healthier life. So whether you are a parent or a clinician that's looking to incorporate essential oils with autism, it's important to, number one, know your individual, and number two, realize that it can work in addition to a pharmaceutical or it can work in lieu of a pharmaceutical. It's whatever your preference is. So that said, again, let me know whatever questions you have. I'm happy to help you. And until then, have a good afternoon. Bye now.